Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, the 19th of September. Back to the beginning of the week. This week, markets are open, so it's time to go over the pairs and everything. We're watching the trades that are already in the pound and gold, Bitcoin, etc., etc. But this week I'm going to change it up, and I'm going to look at the dollar first, so we can give us a heads up on what's happening on the swing trades that we're on, especially the gold and the pound against the US dollar, etc., etc. Now, the last time I did look at the DXY, I said if the weekly candle closes above here and breaks this supply zone, then it looks like we're going up, but it hasn't yet. So first we'll move out to the monthly, and we'll just see. So this is the supply zone that we're in currently, which is this correlation zone here. Now, as you can see, the candles here, these are pretty free range candles that have moved down. There's imbalances to fill. There's pretty clean range that price can move up to if this zone holds. Now, as you can see, this zone here, this is a big monthly supply zone where we find price sitting in currently. And if we go down to the weekly, as we can see, last week it didn't close above. We're still sitting in this supply zone. There's a possibility that we could still turn downwards and get some bearish price action. Now, if we look at the daily, as we can see, when we started to fall back last week, we had a bullish reaction, but price didn't make another high. We made a lower high. Now, price action is suggesting that we could go bullish still, but as I was saying, long term, as long as price doesn't break above past this high and the weekly candle close above this zone, then I'm still looking for the longer term swing reversal. So yeah, that's the premises and what we're working on with the dollar. As you can see, last week's candle Friday, it looked to start breaking above and it closed below. So we might make a little high. We might make a little close above this zone on today's candle, Tuesday's candle, but then we could get another rejection going down. So again, it's a vital time to see what's going to happen with the dollar against all of the pairs, because as we sit on the pound, it's not been this low since 1980s, or lower than the price that it sits at currently. So yeah, it's a big week to watch the dollar and consequently the other pairs that we're in. So with that pair covered, we'll move across to EURGBP, which we always usually start from. And as you can see, we've had some crazy bullish movement. Again, as I was saying, the pound has been weak, especially against other currencies like the euro, for example, and the dollar. And obviously it's dropped up against GJ, which we'll go over soon. But as for EURGBP, there's not really much we can join on the buy at the moment because it's pretty overbought price action. Again, we need to wait for price to come back and hit a nice demand zone before we can buy. So yeah, there's not much we can do really. We can look for buys possibly here. If it does continue this bullish action, then we could possibly look to sell from a supply zone, but it would be a sell to buy. So it would be a shorter term trade possibly. So not much to go over on EURGBP really. We're just going to monitor the situation to see what happens with the pound. As I say, euro's been on a fly against the Aussie dollar and the pound and some pairs, but obviously not against the US dollar because it's direct negative correlation. So yeah, again, is a bit too sharp bullish price action to join in on this position at the moment. We'd have to look for a deeper pullback to a demand zone, or sell from the supply zone for a possible sell to buy later on. So yeah, so with that pair covered, we'll move to GJ. And as I shown last time, we had the breakout from this little triangle that we were in. Price hit the supply zone where I was possibly looking for a sell. I didn't quite catch this one. Usually I'd like a bit more price action in the zone like this one here, and I wasn't watching at the time, so I didn't manage to catch it unfortunately. But I've laid these. If you want to trade this pair solely and it's just this pair you're solely trading, and we've had this zone marked out for since April, so I gave you more than enough chances to catch that trade, and if you're on the 4 hour you could have caught it. Look at that rejection. That would have been a lovely entry there. You can see that resistance formed. Let's get a horizontal line in there. Right there, candle went up to the supply zone, rejected right out, and then you could have just sold there. That's an easy sell to take, and you don't even have to use that wick. You could use those other wicks there just above into that supply zone, because this resistance obviously is quite strong. As you can see, all the candles closed right on this line, and then we rejected back out when it tried to break above and closed below that line. So that is a classic sell example that you could have taken, and you would be you'd be 370 pips in profit now. So yeah, so it's that's a fairly easy trade to take. If you look on the 4 hour, it's a classic example of resistance forming. You know what I mean? You got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 5 4 hour candles closing right under that line of resistance. So that's a symbol, especially with that rejection. How much is that? That's 130 pip wick on the 4 hour. So if that doesn't tell you that it's reversing down, then you pretty much can't be helped when it comes to trading, because it's a classic sign that it's going to be reversing there under that 4 hour setup. And again, that's 370 pips in profit. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame that I wasn't watching that one, but it is what it is. We'll always catch another one. But as for new trades, let's have a look. Yeah, well, I'd just like to see price continue really and come down to this demand zone, and then we can look to get a buy on. So that's what I'll be looking for on GJ, for a continuation of price to come down to this demand zone, and then we can get a buy on back up to the top of the supply zone. As you can see, it's clearly been in this range for a good few months now. So yeah, buy from the bottom, sell from the top. Not much more can help you on GJ at the moment with that one. So with that done, we'll move to EURAUD. Again, as I was saying about the euro pairs, they've had a tear up as of late, but we find ourselves at this downtrend. So in fact, this wouldn't be a bad place to get a little short on. You can get your stop loss just with that supply there, and it could go down to, I'd say that's a good demand zone at the bottom there. So yeah, this is a little multiple confluence trade. I mean, it's a little bit risky, but we're meeting the trend line. We've hit the supply zone, so there's a couple of confluences there that we could try. If you wanted to do just a short scalping intraday, you could get a 1-to-1, possibly a 1-to-2 maybe. Try something like that out. So if you wanted to trade EURAUD this week, this could be a possibility of a sell today. Have a bit of pullback on the euro pairs. If we are moving up long term and it starts to break above this trend line, then you could close the position out. But yeah, that will be a little counter movement action on EURAUD that you could possibly take this week. So I'll leave that one up there once we revisit this video next week. And yeah, with that one done, we'll move to GBPUSD. I'm still holding this trade. I know I've got my stop loss there, but as I say, it's a swing trade, and I've got a lot of smaller position than I usually have open. So I don't care about the drawdown that I'm in at the moment. It's it's not a worry to me whatsoever. This could drop another 100 pips today, and I wouldn't be bothered. But obviously, if this zone breaks, then I wouldn't be happy about the trade that I'm in, and then I would look to close. But as of the moment, I'm still holding long. It's still not closed below this zone yet. So yeah, I'm waiting for a close below. Once price action closes below this zone, then it does look like we could start moving further downwards. But as I say, once we break below this price, where we haven't seen prices since 1985, so it could form a fresh demand zone, and we don't know where. So yeah, it's obviously best to wait to watch for the turn if price closes below this zone. But yeah, as for now, I'm still holding. If you join the long swing trade, you know, you should expect some little drawdown as it's picking a bottom basically, and obviously it's not the most wise to do, but that's why we use a lot small position, and then we're looking for the turn. So yeah, waiting and watching on GBPUSD, EURUSD. Again, I think this is a good place to buy because we're at the parity stage of $1 to €1. It seems to be quite a strong support zone. Every time it moves below, it comes straight back up. So if you want to trade the euro, again, the same as the pound, this is a good place to just get a swing on. Just open a small position. If you normally trade half a lot, trade 0.1 of a lot. If you normally trade 0.10, trade 0.01. You know, it all depends on your account size, what your risk is, what you're willing to risk. But again, we're looking for large volume of pips in return, which is going to get you your percentage on a swing trade. So you can afford to just take, you know, a very, very small position. Once we know that the trade's going in our direction and the trend has changed, then we can stack a higher normal position on top of the swing trade. So that's, you know, it's another tool in helping us determine when trends change. If you open a small position on these types of setups, you know, picking a bottom and using your full normal risk is obviously stupid because you know, most of the time you're going to get stopped out. But using a very, very small position against your account is actually a tool that you can use to determine when trends change. Because, like I say, if you normally trade 0.50, half a full lot, and then you could just throw a 0.010 on this setup, and then once you know you're in profit and we've broke above these trend lines and the moving average, and we start making higher highs and higher lows and the trend has changed, then you can whack on top of that swing one a normal risk size position that you would normally trade. So you know, people say, oh, you shouldn't really pick bottoms, but you can actually use it as a tool to your advantage. So, you know, just do what works best for you, and that's what works best for me sometimes on these types of setups, especially on when price is this low, you know. So we're looking for the dollar to drop, and obviously we're looking for the upturn in EURUSD and GBPUSD. So with EURUSD covered, we'll go to gold. My trade got stopped out at entry. Price moved up. I think we reached almost 2 to 1. 60. Yeah, we reached over 2 to 1. So I'll move my stop loss just to the entry because these wicks obviously are indicating a more downwards movement. We're rejecting from this area. We had a lot of 50% candles, which obviously are representing a battle between buyers and sellers, and there's no real momentum candle happening. So once we reached 2 to 1 on this trade, I did move my stop loss to entry, and as you can see, it was a wise decision because we got stopped out and we've moved further down. We could go up to the weekly on gold. As you can see from this demand zone that we're in, it's still holding. The monthly demand zone it is, sorry. Prices rebounded from this zone multiple times. Again, we went to move below, didn't close below, we rejected and closed inside. Again, this week is another vital week to what's going to happen with gold. Again, it all ties in with the dollar, which we went over at the beginning. If that does start to drop and this will start to turn upside to the upside, you know, then we're on for a long. But yeah, it's all a bit of a game of waiting this week to see what happens with the dollar. If we do start breaking back above this support line here, then we can look to get a buy on again. But as for now, let's just keep watching and see what happens with the dollar. So with that pair covered, we'll move to Bitcoin. Still holding Bitcoin. Price hasn't really penetrated deep further down into price. We're currently around entry zone. There's not much going on really. all the markets are tying together. The crypto's tying in with the stocks, the dollar, the manipulation going on over in the US is all a bit stupid. But again, we're not moving further down. We made that low and we still haven't penetrated that low. So until we do, I'm saying it's forming a bottom. We can have as much price action as we want. It's just going sideways. So yeah, I'm still holding along. There's not much more I can tell you about it really. Get in a small position as we did on GU and just watch for the trend to change. Once the moving average comes down and meets price action with the candles, then I think we'll get our next direction of what's going to happen in the short to medium term at least. But again, as for now, buy small, hold, keep watching. Yeah, not much more I can tell you on Bitcoin at the moment for that, because nobody knows what's going to happen here. I think this is the bottom. I mean, it certainly looks like it. It's not moving lower, is it? You know, we're not penetrating below this demand zone. So until we do, I'm going to continue holding longs here. And I suggest you do also. As the reason why I went over when we were looking at Euro, you can use a small position. Once we know the trends change, then you can stack up and get a higher risk position and a higher size position for some bigger returns. So that's pretty much it for this week, everybody. Pretty much for an important week on the dollar. We're just watching and waiting to see what happens, and then we can react to what's happening. Because if the dollar does close above that supply zone, it's got free room to move into, and then I will look to close the positions that I'm in. Again, they're all very small positions, so it doesn't affect my account at all. So yeah, hope you've learnt something there. Let me know in the comments what you're trading below. If you're not a subscriber already, do me a favour and like and subscribe the channel. It really helps me out. And yeah, if there's any other pairs that you want me to have a look at, there's not many more pairs that I trade really that I actually have a look at. Obviously because it's quite busy, and I do trade one per day daily, which is GJ scalping. So I don't really watch any other pairs a lot. I usually check once a day. But usually around the session zones I trade GJ, you know, on the smaller time frames only, because I've not got time to sit there and watch charts all day, you know, got busy lives to lead. Yeah, so let me know what you're trading below, and I'll see you again next week. Cheers everyone, take care.